August 2020, great film throwback day. With everything that's been going on in the world, I only felt that it was appropriate that this specific movie was finally viewed and reviewed by myself. And that, of course, is one of Spike Lee's most well-known films from 1992, Malcolm X, starring a brilliant cast including the great Denzel Washington, Albert Hall, Al Freeman Jr., Angela Bassett, Delroy Lindo, and Teresa Randall. So, the title of the movie is pretty much what this film is all about. It's about the life of Malcolm X, starting off as a poor boy in middle America as Malcolm Little. His family dealt with everything that you could possibly imagine that was going on in the black community post-World War II. And it is all about how Malcolm grows up, starts a life of crime in Harlem, New York, gets thrown in jail for 10 years, learns about the Brotherhood of Islam, and turns his entire life around, and then becomes a controversial spokesperson for the Brotherhood of Islam at a time when the civil rights movement was in full swing, and he at that point in time was pretty much on the same plane as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but at the same time, not the exact same person. Rather, he was someone who believed that the black people should strengthen and they should segregate themselves from the white man and be their own people, and just spewed a ton of controversial speeches a lot of people felt that were dangerous for the American communities, but then really understanding what the religion that he was following was all about, he finally realized what he really needed to preach, and unfortunately, the people who gave him a face for the media and a face for the American people were the ones that gave him his early demise. So, the story of Malcolm X is a story that everybody knows and at the same time may not know about this controversial figure. I, for one, know who Malcolm X was, but this is only because of the fact that I've seen what it was all about in history books mostly, in museums, and also to a certain degree in documentary films. But I always knew that this was a movie that I should see just because of the fact that Spike Lee is one of the most original and innovative directors in all of film history, and with Do the Right Thing being one of my all-time favorite films as far as I'm concerned, the best film of 1989, and also recently watching his newest feature, Da 5 Bloods, which you should definitely check out on Netflix, I always said Malcolm X was going to be a movie that I would see. So, I will say that this movie is unfortunately far from perfect. I really expected a lot more, especially considering that this movie is over 3 hours long. There's a lot of good things to be found in this movie, especially the acting in this film. Denzel Washington was up for an Academy Award for his performance as Malcolm X, and this was definitely one of the best performances that I have seen from Denzel Washington. Granted, I have seen his performance in Glory, which got him an Academy Award, and I also saw Training Day, which got him another Academy Award. But I loved his performance in this film. I loved Angela Bassett in this film. Even though we didn't get too much of the actors like Delroy Lindo and even actresses like Debbie Mazar in this film, they still made their presences known, and they definitely did a great job. I mean, look, Delroy Lindo doesn't have much of a role in this film, but watch Da 5 Bloods, and you will totally see what makes him a fantastic actor. Also, Spike Lee's performance. I mean, Spike Lee is an actor and a director. I love him in Do the Right Thing. He didn't have too much of a good dominant role in this film, but when he was on screen, he lights it up, he says funny things, and he really was a very fun performance to watch. Also, the costumes, the set pieces, everything truly fits the setting, fits the motifs, and one of the things that I love that Spike Lee does is whenever he does a movie that's set in a different time period or on a different topic, he always brings up the current events. At the beginning of Malcolm X, you see the videotape of the Rodney King riot 1992. So he was basically making a statement that even though there were figures like Martin Luther King and figures like Malcolm X that were trying to say things that needed to be said in regards to lifting up the black community and letting people know that there is still a ton of racism in this country. Showing that footage at the beginning of the movie shows us how long we still had to go. And he's even doing it right now. He did it in Black Klansman. He did it in Da 5 Bloods. That's just what he does, and that's what makes him the director and the icon that he is in the world of film. The biggest negative for this film is that it is just so long-winded, and you would expect for a movie that is 3 hours long to be a lot more impactful and maybe feature a lot more of what the movement was all about, more of the speeches, more of the coinciding with other events that were going on during the Civil Rights Movement. But you didn't really get that. You did get a couple of glimpses. You got a little bit of Martin Luther King. You got a little bit of the assassination of JFK. But again, I understand the purpose of this film is not to show what's going on around the world of Malcolm X. It's about Malcolm X and how he brought himself to the world. But the performances were very stirring. I really, really enjoyed the acting. I mean, I didn't really find myself truly bored with this movie. I mean, it was definitely exciting, especially when every single time that Malcolm X opens his mouth and what the press said, what the Brotherhood of Islam would say. His trip to Mecca was definitely my favorite part of the film because of the fact that he really gets a true understanding of his religion, and he just has a true enlightenment moment going to that pilgrimage. And when he comes back, it's just amazing to see the persona change so rapidly and how Denzel Washington just does it beautifully. And to be honest with you, I really didn't know what my attitude about Malcolm X was entirely, but when I truly saw what he was like before he died, it was definitely a true symbolizing of hope, and I really feel that if he was able to continue his life, same thing with Dr. Martin Luther King, I really feel that so much more positivity could have been brought. We could have seen truly more unification, and maybe the world today would not be where it is today if iconic figures like these two gentlemen, who definitely were on the right path towards the end of their lives, I really think that true changes and differences would have been made. But I just wish that Malcolm X was a better film. I still feel that in the times that we're in right now, Malcolm X is a movie that you definitely should watch, because the movements were still relevant then, and they're still relevant now, and I just wish that it could have been a truly better film. But I'm very, very happy that I've seen it, and I'm also very happy to know that I've been seeing more movies directed by Spike Lee. And I don't plan to see this movie again, and I'm definitely not getting this movie on DVD, but I am still very glad that I watched it. I'm going to be giving Malcolm X 2.5 stars out of 4. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please leave your comments in the box below, and let's discuss Malcolm X, and I will see you in the next one. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.